All right, guys. Okay, so this is the Chivalrous Man's Men's Group. Thank you guys for coming. I'm opening this meeting up to the public for any of those that choose to watch, and maybe you can benefit from what we're going to be talking about today. So today we're talking about destroying negativity, or destroying negative self-talk, embracing your powerful potential. So one of the things that happens is that when you begin to challenge yourself to become the best version of yourself, when you begin to start throwing out some of the negative qualities that have plagued you for so long, just human nature, your mind kind of goes into survival mode. Your mind becomes uncomfortable, and you start to get a lot of negative talk that's trying to get you to hold on to that person that you used to be, right? And so what we're going to talk about today is how you destroy that negative self-talk and that you embrace, right, that new you. So what we're seeing today in a lot of different situations, and this is something that for me, is honestly, it's quite frustrating at times that, you know, on a one-on-one conversation that I have with several men, there's this, I want to do better. I see the mistakes that I'm making. I no longer want to be that person. I want to enjoy the success that I know that I can have. But then when it comes to actually doing the work, I find that a lot of the men we're kind of hesitant. We're afraid to open up. We're afraid to join other groups of men that are trying to move together. And I think, honestly, this is something that I think is purposeful. We've been purposefully put into our own bubble, so that, kind of like the divide and conquer, so that we can be controlled. And it's going to take a group of men coming together with like minds to rid us of this dilemma, really. So just one of the things that I see, I remember when my kids were younger, they used to play video games, and I saw that the video games used to be a communal effort, right? One, two, three, four people would come together and they would work on that video together. But through technology, now people have isolated themselves into their own home, and though they're working together in the fictitious video game world, in reality they're by themselves, and that's kind of created chaos and havoc in amongst men. If I can be, honest, it has created a really bad situation where men don't work together anymore, and this is something that we have to struggle against. So what we're going to talk about is destroying that negative self-talk. And so the first thing is conquering this negative dragon. And when I talk to young men on the individual basis, we touch on slaying your dragon, right? And so this is the negative self-talk dragon. And so one of the points, right, is that you don't want to wait to slay your dragon, because if you actually go and embrace that negative characteristic of yourself, you might find that dragon to be just a baby, right? It's not really something that's going to involve a lot of fight. But if you don't deal with that situation immediately, right, and if you just let that situation fester, rest assured that later on down the line, when you do try to attack that dragon, it's going to be a full-grown, fire-breathing dragon, and you may not have the tools to defeat that dragon. Okay, but if you attack it when it's young, and you don't shy away from it, then you might have to fight just a baby dragon that its fire-breathing glands per se hasn't developed yet. Okay, so let's understand that negative self-talk is an attempt to keep you average. Okay? That negative person inside of you, right? That alter ego that is your enemy. He does not want you to be great. He wants you to be a part of the get along gang. He doesn't want you to stand out. He doesn't want you to achieve your goals. That negative persona or alter ego of yourself wants to keep you average, right? And how does that occur? By telling you to stay in your comfort zone. Don't do what is uncomfortable. Don't grow. All right? Stay right here. We don't know what's out there. If you go out there, you may lose, right? Essentially, it wants to keep you just a common man, okay? And we're here and we're struggling because we no longer want to be a common man. We want to be an extraordinary man. We want to be an extraordinary husband. We want to be an extraordinary father. We want to be extraordinary sons. We want to be extraordinary uncles. We want to be extraordinary members of society. We want to be extraordinary teachers, right? Whatever the profession is that you do, right? We want to be extraordinary, but this negative alter ego wants to keep you stuck in simplicity and comfort, okay? And staying in your comfort zone will kill you, okay? So the first step, or the first way in which we remove this negative persona from our lives, is words of affirmation, right? Les Brown, the popular motivational speaker, one of the things he says in his lectures is that it takes 7 words of affirmation to remove just one negative comment. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. It takes 7 affirmations, positive affirmations, to remove one negative comment. So you have to engross yourself in positivity. You have to engross yourself in success. You have to engross yourself with words of affirmation to remove the negative self-talk. Okay? So understanding that how are we going to defeat this alter ego? Negative self-talk. And I'll tell a little story about me. What I used to do, right now I listen to videos, but what I used to do when I was really battling the negative alter ego, the lower vibration self, that had ruled my life for years and years and years. But when I battled, I actually had a marker board, or a board that I had written on, and I had written, it was like 50 affirmations. And every day when I got up, I stood in front of that board that was pinned to my wall, right? And I said those affirmations, right? I removed this negative image that I had of myself through words of affirmation. Okay, so that's one of the first steps. So whether you use those, you listen to motivational lectures, right? Again, motivational podcasts. Whether you write the words of affirmations on the wall, and you do it like I did. I'm actually looking right now on the wall. I have my calendar. I have my morning routine. I have my words of affirmation. Okay. I talk to myself because I suffer from negative self-talk, right? It's there. It's always going to be there. But I use the words of affirmation, right? The positive motivational lectures to remove that every day, right? Every day. And sometimes more than once a day if I find myself having a difficult day, or if I've, failed at something and there's something that tells me that, hey, you can't do it. Even when before I started this live, right? I saw that I did not have my usual participants, and it got me down a little bit in the negative self-talk. tried to tell me, oh man, what are you doing? You should just stop. Then I said no, right? I quickly quieted and shut that negative self-talk, my negative self down. And I said, you know what? I have to do this. This is my purpose. This is my passion. And teaching is my gift. This is what I must do. Okay? The next point that we want to talk about in defeating this negative self-image or this negative self-talk is to realize that you are not your thoughts. Okay? If we would just sit there and meditate, which is something that a practice that we should do every morning, prayer, but also meditation, where you just sit with your thoughts. And if you sit with your thoughts and you monitor your thoughts, and this isn't something that's easy. This is something that you have to work at. You're going to see that your mind is actually going to go. It's going to just bounce around from to idea to idea to idea. And what you're trying to do when you meditate is throw that lasso around your sporadic thoughts and bring it in under control. Okay? And when you're meditating, you're trying to focus on your peace. Okay? But your brain is going to it's gonna run, as they say, right? But we have to, wrangle it up and bring it in and bring our lower negative self under control. So we do that by understanding that you are not your thoughts, right? What you think does not define you. Okay? What you think does not define you. What you do does define you. So that means is that you have to have the power of your mind to control it. And just like the rodeo cowboys, when they lasso that bull or they lasso that horse, it's going to buck. It does not want to be confined. And similarly, your lower self, this negative self-talk, this negative persona that is in you, does not want to be controlled either. Okay? So when you begin to wrangle in this negative image that you have of yourself that is in your brain, right? It's not going to feel comfortable. It's going to buck back. But that's not the time for us as men to be weak. That is the time for us for men to be strong and to know that these negative thoughts that come across our brain are not who we are. Okay? Who we are is a measured, thought out man that takes the sum total of all of the good ideas and thoughts that we have, and then we say, this is the best course of action for me to take here. This is the best course of action for me to take there. But I'm not going to listen to every thought and act on every thought that comes into my mind. Right? I have goals. I have aspirations. I have passions. I have purposes. And this is where I'm going to decide what is the best course of action of all of the thoughts that I had that will lead me to the success that I'm looking for in life, that will lead me to be the best version of myself. Okay? So that's the second point of things that we do to defeat this negative self-talk. Let's go ahead and move forward. Okay? One of the points in the lecture that I was listening to when we talked about defeating negative self-talk, what they say is stop arguing with reality, right? We see this quite often, right? I'll put this in human form, right? If you know someone that consistently lets you down, okay? If you know someone that is always going to do the wrong thing, right? But in ourselves, we want to say, well, keep giving this person a chance. Keep giving them a chance, right? Maybe this time is going to be the time in which they change. When you say that, you are arguing with reality. You can hope that they change, right? But we have to accept the present circumstances. That this person, no matter how much I would like for them to change, this is the behavior that they have displayed. And until they consistently display another character that is pleasing to me, I'm going to accept them for the exact person that they're showing me. Right? So instead of dwelling and fighting in the negative, right, of not accepting the current reality, accept your present circumstances or the present circumstance as it is. Okay? You acknowledge the situation without judgment. Right? You acknowledge this is the situation, right? Do I wish that it was a better situation? Yes, but this is a situation, and so I'm just going to accept it, right? And I'm going to focus on what I can control, right? But I'm not going to keep arguing with the reality of the situation, right? I have to accept it. Okay? When we talk about stop arguing with the reality, we have to use the past as our teacher. Okay? We have to use the past as our teacher. If you have a friend that is, I don't know, if they say that you have a friend that steals and you know that they steal, right? The past teaches you that they're going to steal. Accept this reality that they are thieves. Okay? Accept this reality that they are thieves. Remove them from your life and start moving forward to your best self. But don't sit around this person waiting for them to change because you're not accepting the reality of the present situation. Okay? So when we accept that the reality, this actually stops us, right, from allowing this negative self-talk, this negative image. This stops us from giving that negative persona a place to hide. Okay? Because that negative persona is going to hide behind what you think, right? What you think the world should be like, right? If, oh, well, we don't need to do this. This is better, right? No, we're not gonna allow for that negative persona to hide anywhere. We're gonna accept the reality. We're gonna push the negative people, the negative actions out of our lives, and we're gonna move forward. Okay, so that's the next step in ways in which we can remove negative talk is accepting our reality. Okay, because the negative is always going to, it's, how can I say it? Like Mark Twain, he mentioned, let me see if I can get this right. He said there was a lot of things in which I panicked and had anxiety about, but very few things of those things actually happened, right? Your brain is going to tell you all kinds of fictitious things that could happen if you take this course of action, if you go over here, if you try to get this new job, if you try to change yourself. Your brain is going to come up with a million ideas. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose money. You're going to lose this. You're going to be alone, right? Those are not realities. Though that's just your brain trying to trick you. Okay, who we have here? Thank you guys for coming. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. Okay, so this is what we can do to stop negative self-talk. Right now, Carol Dweck, she has a book called Mindset. And I think this book came out probably about 10, 15 years ago or so. But it was kind of groundbreaking in the ideas between having a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Okay? Having a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. So here we have a little chart. I know you guys on Facebook, you can't see what's going on, but it says that of the 80% of people that embrace challenges, right? Of the 80% of people that embrace challenges, 90% of them say, right, that is, they see effort as the main course of action towards mastery. Okay, effort. So what does that mean? If you want to grow, right, and change your current situation, you have to put the effort forth, right? You have to go willingly into failure and not get stuck at failure. Recognize that every time you fail, you're one step closer to success, right? And this is a poster that I saw. You know, as a school teacher, you come across a lot of posters that you can post in your classroom to motivate kids. You know, I didn't use this one, but it was very powerful to me. It said every Hall of Famer at one point was a beginner. Every Hall of Famer at one point was a beginner, right? But they practiced their skills day in and day out. They thought about how to improve their skills day in and day out. They didn't give up. When they failed, they continued on, right? And it was a little young boy with a baseball, oversized hat, you know, oversized glove, a baseball, and a bat. But one of the important things that from that video, you know, was like, look at baseball, right? In baseball, if you connect or if you're successful, 30% of the time you're successful, right? You know, if you're 35% of the time, you're going into some of the greatest that ever did it. Okay? And so that's one of the things to think about. So 90% of the people believe that effort is one of the main components to your success. Okay? And I remember watching that show Shark Tank, and you know, where it talks, these businessmen talk to up and coming inventors and people that have business ideas. And one of the men, I'm forgetting which one, but I heard, I don't think I was like actually watching it. I might have been listening to it, right? He said it only takes one idea to get you wealthy. Just one idea, right? That's all it takes, right? But to get that one idea, you might have to go through 20 ideas, right? Before that one hits. Okay, it says 75% of these 80% of people that embrace the challenges say that they learn from their criticism. Okay? Learn from criticism. If somebody says something negative about what you're doing, about this change that you're making, right? You learn from it. You don't just, you know, get angry, right? Or, you know, sidetrack. You learn from your criticism, right? That person there, they're giving me feedback. I might not like the feedback, but I'm getting that feedback. Okay? It says 85% of the people find a lesson in setback, right? In every failure is a blessing and a lesson, right? In every failure, in every setback, there's a blessing, right? What's the blessing? That you can try again. Okay? And then the lesson you're going to have to find. Okay? And 95% of these people believe that they can achieve their full potential. Okay? So you ask, what does the growth mindset, fixed mindset have to do with defeating and destroying negative self-talk? Right? You have to have a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is negative. A growth mindset says, I will figure this out. I may not know it today, but eventually I will know it. A fixed mindset says, this is too much. I'll never understand how to do this. Okay? And so we have to take on a growth mindset to defeat negative self-talk. Right? When your brain starts fighting against you, you like, and I really did this. Tell your brain to shut up. Right? Shut up. You will be successful. Right? You will build this business out. You will be a good father. You will be. Right? You may not be today. You may not be the best husband today. But if you read enough and you learn how to be romantic and you learn how to communicate, and I'll even say for me, right? My wife I'm forgetting what the book, I think it was the book called Love Languages, right? And when my wife first presented it to me, I was like, oh man, you know, another book. I don't want to read these books, you know. But it wasn't until my son presented to me the same book about love languages. Then I said, well, you know what? And he was talking to me about love languages. And I said, my wife had given me this book. And so I re-engaged this book, right? And so now I understand not only her love languages, I understand my love languages. So now I'm able to communicate with my wife in a greater manner, right? Hopefully making me a better husband, right? But that's the difference between having a fixed mindset and then having a growth mindset, okay? And the growth mindset pretty much kicks the teeth in negative self thought, okay? One of the things that we have to do is to recognize the stories that you tell yourself. The stories that you tell yourselves actually cause you more pain than real life, right? The stories that you create in your mind, they can either empower you or they can hold you back. And the thing is, it's just a story, right? I'm a wrestling fan, right? I was listening to a lecture. This is after Cal Dake, who was when he won the national championship at Cornell University as a freshman, you know, and they asked him about pressure. And he told him it was very astounding what he said. He said pressure doesn't exist. Right? It doesn't exist to him. He can either choose to put pressure on himself or he could choose not to put pressure on himself. Right? So the pressure, the anxiety, the fear, he said it doesn't exist. Right? He's told himself it doesn't exist. So he doesn't tell himself a story of pressure, a story of anxiety, a story of lack. He doesn't tell that to himself. It doesn't exist in his world. Right? And likewise, we have to have a mindset where negativity does not exist in our world. And it's very difficult because everybody else is going to want to bring negativity into your sphere, into your arena. Right? Because not everybody has made these changes that are necessary for success. Okay? But we have to create a monologue of positive self-talk. Okay? Of positive self-talk. And that goes back to the words of affirmation. But the stories you tell yourself cause you pain. And it's time for us to remove those negative stories, right? And only tell the positive aspect of things. All right? So, another way in which we can destroy and fight against negative self-talk is identify draining people. There's some people that give you life. And there's some people that give you death. Right? You have to assess the people that are in your life and recognize that not everybody in your life is good for you. Right? Not everybody in your life is a positive role model or a positive influence in your life. So Les Brown says OQP. Right? We surround ourselves with only quality people. And this is one of the hardest things to do. Removing negative people from your mind or from your life is extremely difficult. Because in many cases it might be a brother, it might be a sister, it might be a parent. And though I'm not going to advocate for removing parents from your life, right? You can put a boundary and a protective bubble around those people so that when they come, okay, I'm gonna interact with them, right? But I'm not, it's going to be superficial because I know if I go too deep in the conversation, negativity is going to come. All right. So what do? We have to remove negative and draining people from our life. Okay. Likewise, we are going to declutter our environment, declutter what is around us, right? If there's certain things that you don't need, remove them. Okay? We are going to declutter and then organize our life right? Because most times, and this is not necessarily true, but if you have a cluttered life environment, you're going to have a cluttered brain. And that negative self-talk thrives in a cluttered brain, in an unorganized brain. Okay? So, one of the next step, curate your surroundings, remove clutter, and organize your surroundings. All right? Now, this next one is like, I mean, if there is the creme de la creme of what we need to do to remove negative self-talk from ourselves, is to limit the negative content. Social media, news, movies, music, right? Any stimulus or stimuli that brings negativity into your life, right? It has to be removed. And it's hard. But doing it is it's so important. One of the things my teacher said, and as far as like this social media and this digital age, is he actually said to get a flip phone. Right? Now, I mean, unfortunately, I didn't do it, but to get a flip phone so that, you don't have access to so much negativity, right? But what I decided to do instead was that I sought out positive, uplifting, and empowering information. If you were to go to my YouTube playlist, it's nothing but religious lectures, podcasts, motivational lectures, a couple, I like to cook, so a couple recipes, right? But it's all positive, uplifting, empowering information, audiobooks, right? I try to now, I still get caught scrolling sometimes. I did that today. I was at work and, it was after work and I had to get some work done. And I had to take my phone and put it on the other side, right, on my other desk in the other side of the room, so that I was not distracted by this content, and the majority of it is negative, right? And understand that pointless content is negative as well, right? So we want to limit the amount of negative content that we digest, and this one can be difficult at times, okay? And then we want to embrace uplifting spaces, right? So we want to go where you're beloved, go where you're championed, right? Go where your success is, right? Maybe you like having a Zen garden, right? One of the things I'm starting to do, I'm trying to learn how to have an herb garden, right? But you want to go places that foster productivity and foster positivity. Okay? And you want to become a part of that. You do not want to become a part of the negative environment, but you want to embrace and find like-minded people that are moving forward, that have a growth mindset, and that's where you want to dedicate yourself. Okay? Another thing, and I gave this analogy in one of the videos that I made, right, where it talks about that discipline is better than motivation. Motivation and willpower only lasts so long. It's like in a video game. You lose power every time you make a decision, every time you have willpower. And if you don't do anything to recharge your battery, right, then eventually you're going to run out of energy. And when you're tired and when you don't have energy, that is when the negative self-talk thrives. So we want to recharge our battery. We want to make sure that we're getting enough sleep, right? We want to make sure that we are meditating. You can meditate both in the morning time, you can meditate at nighttime, but you are centering yourself in your thoughts, whether maybe that meditation can be prayer, or it can just be basic meditation where you try to clear your mind, right, and remove all negative aspects, right? And that you have, it says what we're talking about here is that you have hours of restful downtime, right? You don't have to have something going on 24/7. You have to have hours of downtime, okay? And if you do these things, right, the percentage of negative self-thought talk will reduce, right? If not eliminate, right? Well, I don't think it'll ever be eliminated, but that voice will become so weak that it's easy for you just to tell it to shut up. Okay? Now, lastly, of how we defeat negative self-talk is by gratitude, right? Showing gratitude for all of the blessings that you have. Okay? And showing gratitude is nothing but pure positivity. So we recognize that negativity breeds more negativity, right? So we have to shift our perspective to that of positivity through gratitude, okay? And what we should do, right? And to do this, if you're not grateful, is to write down everything that you are grateful for. And I guarantee you guys, you will not be able to stop. Right? I'm grateful to the Creator that He created me with fingers that bend so that I can grab things. Right? I'm grateful to the Creator for these eyes that I can see the beautiful creation around me, that I can see my beautiful family. Right? Nose, so I could smell, right, this beautiful world. My nose hairs so that I can prevent pollen and whatnot to get into my nose to make me sneeze uncontrollably. Right? I'm skin. I mean, there's so, right, the little things and the big things, right? Gratitude, right? And once you realize that gratitude begins to destroy negative thought, right, you will recognize that having gratitude actually aligns you with your purpose. I'm grateful, right, that I'm able to fight every day and help young men become the best versions of themselves, right? I acknowledge and I appreciate the blessings of my life, right? And if you do that, right, and if you show gratitude, right, then eventually that gratitude is like the antidote for that negative self-talk. Now, what does that mean? That ingratitude, right, ingratitude breeds negativity. Right? So what does that mean? So every day you should look at your world around you and what am I thankful for? Right? And express your gratitude. I tell my students every day, thank you for allowing me to be your teacher. Okay? One of the first homework assignments I had for my students this year was for them to go and kiss their mother on their forehead and their father on their forehead and tell them thank you for all of the for all the sacrifice that they've done for you. Gratitude. Gratitude for the things that you see and gratitude for the things that you don't see. And gratitude knocks the brains out of negativity. All right? And that's pretty much, and if we do those steps, guys, and this is one of the things that, I had a young man that I from the group that I talked to this week, and it's becoming a bit of my motto, right? Nothing works unless you do. None of this information works unless you do. If you think that, this is crap, I can go figure it out myself, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But this information that I'm giving you is time proven to be true. Right? It's time proven to be true. Okay? So remember, guys, that your thoughts do not define you. Your actions define you. You have the ability to rewrite your narrative, to rewrite your life, and to become the best version of yourself. And while you are doing that, you have an obligation to be grateful to the Creator for all of the blessings that He's given you. Okay? And if you do that step by step, and you do become, and you do these actions, and eventually you will become the man that you have been wanting to be all through these years. But it is not going to happen unless you actively take the steps for your own success. Okay? And remember, as I finish this and open it up for any comments that anybody has, I say this all the time, right? Keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you will reach your destination. All right? For the people on Facebook, or for the people here on the Zoom call, you guys have any questions, comments? I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right. So if there is no comments, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you guys for coming, for the people that were here on Facebook, and for the person that's here on the Zoom call. I really do appreciate you guys. This is a passion of mine. This is something that I truly love. I hope that these words are successful, and that these words resonate with you into your heart. And if this is what you want to do, I'm always here to help you become the best version of yourself step by step. This is something that's very important, right? Very important. And as you rectify yourself, there will be people that are rectified by your rectification, right? And so I hope that you gain the most success, and that we work together, that we bond together to become the best versions of ourselves, to be the best husbands, the best fathers, the best brothers, the best sons that we can be, and build our community around the love, right, that God has put in place for ourselves, for our family, and our community. Okay, so I hope these words will affect your heart, right? And I will see you guys next Thursday, 8 p.m. Hopefully you have a better turnout. I was a little lax on my marketing this week, and I see that has created a lack of attendance. So I'm gonna have to get back onto my marketing and build the numbers back up. All right, you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed. Peace.